From here on out, it's nothing but high-end professional cinematography. And we're going to cover the brand new version 2.0 firmware upgrade of the PMW F55 and PMW F55 from our friends at Sony. So join me over here. Sony, in a commitment to further improving their 4K PMW F55 offering and their HD and 2K PMW F5 offerings, have been constantly upgrading their firmware. The most recent version is version 2, and there are a couple of really awesome features, most notably their high frame rate recording in 2K and, of course, their waveform monitor. We've invited a couple of our customers to share their opinions about that, and so first, I'd like to invite Alan Feinberg of Palm Beach Capital Funding to explain his experience with the 4K PMW F55.
We are producing online video training for professional skills. Our first project right now is fashion design. What we do is that we approach authors of the most prominent textbooks in each field and ask if they would like to have sort of a classroom online. We want to keep it low cost, but very high quality. And so you might ask, why would we use a 4K camera? Well, future-proofing is the most important thing to me. Online, obviously, it's going to be HD. But if you go back 5 years ago, if I had stuck with a standard def camera, I wouldn't be able to use that today. Everything's HD. So we're future-proofing for when Sony may release an equivalent to Blu-ray, except for 4K. When we can record onto one of those things, we're going to release this material in 4K. One of the other things that we were looking forward to, very much so, and I know this is the number one request they had, was slow motion. So they did release in firmware upgrade 2 a couple weeks ago the 120 frames per second, and it is wonderful. What I used to use was a DSLR, and all it would do is for 1 second, 60 frames a second, but it went down to 640 by 480. So I mean the quality was just nothing. I could hardly use it. Maybe it was good for a golf swing, but it wasn't good for any cinematic type effect. And now we have full HD. I showed it to somebody and their mouths fell open. They said, wasn't that wonderful? And that's 4K, isn't it? And I said, actually, you're looking at HD. And they couldn't tell the difference. The quality's that good. In the upgrade, we've had some wonderful things. I was looking forward to the waveform monitor because we had no way to judge exposure. The zebras are not my favorite way of doing it and not as accurate in my opinion. So the waveform monitor is terrific. However, I am asking Sony, and I have written, if they can make that a full screen waveform monitor. Right at the moment, all you have is a little corner, and it's very hard when you're trying to separate between 33 and 40 IRE for a gray card. You can't really see that. So I'd like to have it full screen. They also gave us adjustable recording inputs. So now instead of going into the menu, we can adjust which inputs are being used, left and right, microphone or line, and it's right there on the outside of the camera. Another upgrade I'd like to see is the cache recording, so that you could get 2 to 5 seconds ahead of time. Even with what we're presently doing, that would be helpful because sometimes the talent starts a tad early and we have to do it over again. I'd love to have cache recording. I love the fact that I used to use Panasonic's P2, if you want to know that, and I love the AVC Intra because I thought that I didn't want to have Sony's old way of doing it. I wanted discrete frames for ease in editing, and I like the fact that this is so easily editable. We are using Final Cut Pro version 10. I don't know how many people have adjusted to it, but we love it, and AVC works great with it. The quality is stupendous. In fact, it's so good on the 4K that I've just noticed that if you go 2K, it actually has bigger files than the 4K. So the AVC compression is what, 3.5 to 1, I think, is just marvelous. It is tremendous quality. I couldn't be happier. When I show sometimes I get so excited that when I come home at night, I say to my wife, you got to look at this. And she said, honey, I've seen these. And I said, but just look at this one. And she said, that's amazing. It's amazing quality. It's almost like large format still photography, which is my background. So I love the camera, and I love dealing with Midtown Video.
Thank you very much for your thoughts, Alan. Midtown Video loves working with you too. And we couldn't have Alan live in the studio today, so we really appreciate that he had the time to Skype in and allow us to record that live internet interview. So once again, thank you, Alan Feinberg. If you're interested in sharing your discipline as an online virtual classroom with Mr. Feinberg, you saw his email there. Feel free to get in touch. Alan touched on a few of the really big, impactful upgrades in what Sony's calling version 2.0 firmware, the 120 frame per second 2K and HD slow motion stuff. Even cooler, if you've got the AXS R5 RAW recorder, you can record RAW 2K in the RAW recorder while simultaneously recording HD at both of them at 120 frames per second. So super slow motion video, both in RAW and in compressed. Very cool. Couple other important features. We finally got the XAVC 2K 2048 by 1080p codec. So if all you're doing is recording to S/S cards, you too can record in 2K. Sony is releasing a couple of their own 2/3 inch mount bayonet adapters. So documentary videographers who want to use their existing Canon and Fujinon 2/3 inch glass on your 4K PMW F55, it can be done. Once those adapters hit the street, we'll be sure to alert you so that you can reuse your existing glass. That's going to make Todd Williams at Blue Palm very, very happy. As Alan mentioned, there are a few things that you can monitor directly and sort of manipulate directly on the side of that F55, including your audio levels and your time code settings. Sony's finally starting to utilize those buttons that they put in place where the software was missing but the hardware was there. Well, now the software is starting to fill in. You can control the EI, exposure index value, on the MLUT on-off on the sub-display. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for that one. Also, we've got S-Log2 in the MLUT P4. Give your friends at Midtown Video a call. Come on in, get your hands on our PMW F55 to get a feel for what not just the camera can do for you, but the special features unlocked in this version 2.0 firmware. There is now false color available. If you've got the OLED or the LED viewfinder, you can take it, so not the monitor style, but the eyepiece style. If you've got the eyepiece viewfinders, you can take advantage of false color if you're using S-Log or S-Log2 gammas. I don't recall if this made it if this made the cut. It might have ended up on the cutting room floor, but Alan mentioned that he would like to see false color in hyper gamma and standard gammas because not everybody is sending their footage off to a color correction house for post-production. Some people are using the compressed version to go right to air, and why should they be left out of the false color focus feature? It just so happens that they are. This time around, maybe in an upcoming upgrade, Sony will remedy that. Now we've got Quad HD coming out of your SDI and your HDMI outputs. So the difference between Quad HD or Quad Full HD and 4K is very similar to the difference between HD and 2K. HD 16 by 9, 1920 by 1080. 2K 17 by 9, 2048 by 1080. Similarly, Quad Full HD is 16 by 9. It's 4 HD quadrants. And 4K is 17 by 9. It's 4 2K quadrants. If I had a diagram, that would be really effective right here. We'll work on that for the edited version. Okay, that's enough about me talking about it. Let's listen to another of our clients who purchased the PMW F5. Please welcome Ryan Himmel from the world champion Miami Dolphins.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Ryan Himmel. I'm a cinematographer for the Miami Dolphins, and today I'm just going to be talking about the F5. Out of the newest update that we just did, the feature that I use the most so far is going to be shooting at 120 frames per second. For me, that's really good when we're shooting football. And the second thing that I really enjoy is the video scopes, seeing that on the monitor now. Right now, I'm pretty content with the latest update in the camera. One of the future updates that I would like to see in the camera would be maybe interval recording. I'm not sure if you can do this now, but that would definitely be something that I would like to see in the camera. So far, my general experience with the F5 has been awesome. I really don't have any complaints at all. As far as workflow goes, right now it's a little bit iffy because we're still on Final Cut Pro 7, so we have to go through some transcoding processes. Um, but other than that, we love it.
Ryan, thank you very much for chiming in with your information. Again, Ryan couldn't be in the studio today, so we were able to capture a little Skype interview from him. Hopefully, Ryan was watching Alan's interview. Maybe you can consider upgrading to Final Cut Pro X. XAVC codec is native to Final Cut Pro X, so that's good for 2K coming out of your PMW F5. As a reward for sitting through our discussion of what's cool and upcoming in the version 2.0 firmware upgrade for the PMW F55 and the F5, here is a little bit of Ryan's work on the field. And that last shot was me in one of my Halloween costumes that didn't make the cut for the Dot Video Show this year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Thank you very much, Ryan Himmel from the World Champion Miami Dolphins, for your time with the interview and for sharing your 120 FPS footage from the PMW F5. That was awesome. Before we leave the version 2.0 firmware upgrade, we've got to mention from the release notes number 27, we are finally supporting Chinese display. So our Mandarin-speaking customers, you too now can have the menu show up in your native language. Ni hao. Thank you for joining us through that PMW F5 situation. Before we wrap the show, I've got two huge important announcements for you. First is Filmgate. February 1st and 2nd of 2014 of the Filmgate conference, and that's film-gate.org. Filmgate.org. Filmgate Conference is a place for filmmakers, independent filmmakers, and fans of independent filmmakers to go to participate in workshops. One held by my arch nemesis Philip Bloom, giving a 3-day camera workshop. There will be all kinds of screenings from independent filmmakers from around the world at O Cinema. And this year, importantly, on February 1st and February 2nd, Midtown Video is curating the technology playground where camera manufacturers like Sony, Arri, and Canon, and of course accessory manufacturers like Kessler and others will be showcasing the latest in filmmaking technology. If you are interested in filmmaking technology, and I imagine you might be, please make sure to check it out. That's film-gate.org for the Filmgate Conference 2014. Make sure to check that out. A little bit earlier, we're going to have the AICP show. Our friends at the Association of Independent Commercial Producers every year like to celebrate the finest commercials made with a show that they call The Art and Craft, the art and technique of the American commercial. Additionally, they have the AICP Next Awards, most recently featuring our friend Michelle Marks, who's no longer with us. Carl Kesser edited together a beautiful piece showcasing her lifetime of work. Who will the AICP Next Awards select this year? You'll find out when you attend the show. It is on November 22nd at the brand new state-of-the-art Perez Art Museum, Miami. That's PAMM for our anagrammistic friends. So AICP, showcasing the art and technique of the American commercial. The show starts at the Museum of Modern Art. The entire show is on display at www.aicpshow.com. And every year, the AICP show honorees are archived at the Department of Film at the Museum of Modern Art. So join us November 22nd at the Perez Art Museum, PAMM, Miami. It's going to be one of the first shows at the X Ultra venue where the brand new Perez Art Museum will be erected. Thank you once again to our studio audience for sitting through this 50th episode of the Dot Video Show. We're joined by Diliana, who is the curator of the entire Filmgate Conference. We're joined by Rob Collins, #1 fan, most studio audience appearances by anyone in the studio audience. We've got a new camera operator today, and that's Philip Godala. Thank you for joining us. We've got Alex and Nick, as always, operating camera. We have our brand new sales technician, Luis Hernandez, is on the operating board for audio. We've got Catherine doing stage managing, and Debbie's answering your chat questions. Verge Castillo is whispering in my ear and operating everything beautifully as our technical director. I am your host, Jesse Pinkman Miller, thanking you for coming to the show and leaving you with this one final totally awesome.
Jesse Miller and Midtown Video presents the Jesse Miller Show. Yeah. Jesse Miller and Midtown Video presents Jesse Miller Show.